Monday Night Raw. It was not really a too much of a go home show. I was like, they really was like progressing more stories than anything. But hey, I was like, it's fine because it is the last one, so it ain't gonna be too crazy or whatnot. And holidays, and I was like, I believe this one might have been taped as well too or whatnot. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get some nitty gritty off of hey, it doesn't look a little bit more that it was Bayley that did out Jade. Now, I was like, I did a video on it. It's one of them things that it'd be cool if it was maybe somebody else, but Bayley seemed like the real obvious one. But it seemed like, why did it happen? Did it just happen out of nowhere? That kind of thing. But for her to come out, help her against Nia and take Nia out, her and Bianca traded smiles, which I will say, unlike stuff with not Judgment Day, the stuff with the OG Bloodline, at least this got some actual long-term storytelling of like, I don't really trust you, I don't kind of like you, that whole thing. Cause I was going to say something about them trading smiles and being like, wow, that just like that, she's already like, okay, Bayley ain't that bad or whatever, and I'm like, I mean, I guess you wasn't really. It's been almost a year, and maybe it's not harping on you as badly about being like, no, we ain't, not trusting Bayley. But after this, she gonna be like, well, I hear what you're saying, and Bayley wouldn't be blah blah blah. But I also do like that it's like, but you still got to deal with the EO thing, which probably won't really get addressed at all until probably actually in War Games. Kind of like it seemed like the group got some type of thorns for each other a little bit. Naomi seemed like the cool one out of everybody, but then you seen Rhea and she's just mad, and then she sort of gets into it with Bianca. I was like, Io and Rhea had their thing. Io and Bianca got like at least a little friendly type of thing of like some competitiveness or whatever. With Rhea and Bianca has always sort of been tied to the hip as soon as they ever, basically almost really since NXT a little bit as well too. So you can see a little prickliness there. But like they'll get the Bayley will probably on SmackDown, they'll probably ask her to join or whatever like that. And it's gonna be crazy like who wins that War Games, just because I could totally see them releasing the footage of what happened, or if Jay somehow just stumbled out. I was like, hell, Rhea came back after like 2 weeks with an orbital bone. So I was like, whatever they said that Jay got, it doesn't matter. She could stumble out and be like, Bayley the one that did this, all blustered up or whatever. Yeah, I was like, Bloodline stuff, we really just got like, their promo about having a match against Jacob Fatu. You gotta imagine that he's gonna beat Jay for that, just because of like they're going to keep Jacob strong here. But yeah, they're basically like CM Punk and Roman Reigns gonna have something to talk about on SmackDown. I'm like, what do they really need to? I mean, don't get me wrong, this is all for clicks, but they don't really have nothing to talk about. Like, I mean, it should be self-explanatory. I was like, unlike Jay and all them, CM Punk ain't beholden to nothing. He ain't gotta do nothing you say. I'm just here for the wise man. It's very simple kind of thing here. I do like all the stuff with the Wyatts and the Final Testament. Scarlet being left behind, and then doing the horror thing where like we pan out and Nikki Cross is right in there, and she just goes ballistic on Karrion Kross once he comes back in there. The Miz trying to stay in there with Scarlet and stuff like that, and like, no, we're gonna go find him. I was like, that's really good. I'm trying to think, what's the point of LWO having is it Primos or whatever? What are I don't know what their actual tag team people are named. They don't exist. They don't. And these little gatos over here uses Humberto and Angel. They don't at all. Like, their tag team is Ray and is Dragon League. There's nothing here. But they went against Alpha Academy, American Made, and I'm trying to figure out what the match is supposed to be. Kind of like Dragon League, we've had against Chad and Ray, and so I'm trying to figure out like what is the what is the match that's going to be here of like I get the feud a bit, but I'm just trying to figure out like who's going to get like is it Chad going to beat Ray to get the rub for nothing, or I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's good matches though, because I was like, you basically got two big, huge dudes that can do athletic stuff versus these small guys who also can do athletic stuff or whatever like that. So we'll just see or whatever. I would like they kept the Ivy Niles and Zelina stuff bouncing around. That I was like, I think that they're like, I was like, I would like to do more with them or whatever like that. And since we got the announcement of the Intercontinental Women's Championship, I'm just saying, Zelina might be the one that I think should get it or whatever. That'll be a whole nother separate video on itself or whatever like that. I didn't know if they was going to also bring theirs out along with the US, just because I was like, I thought it'd been good to have them bounce back and forth at least for a while to get something going or whatever. Then once it jumped to 3 hours, that'd be different, just because I'm like, with 3 hours you got enough time to flesh everything out. But also I just think that the women on SmackDown is way better than the women on Raw. To me, Raw is like 2 or 3 with a couple, like, then everybody else is just kind of like meh with it. Not them saying they're not good wrestlers, but just saying the energy around them. Like Zoe Starks is a really good wrestler, but the energy. Anyway, for another thing, I'm glad that they made this triple threat between Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, and Sheamus, last name, because I remember listening to people of the Ludwig Kaiser Sheamus match that we had a while back, and they're like, oh, ain't that rivalry done? Why are they still doing this match or whatever? But I've said before several times that I was like, when Ludwig Kaiser originally got hurt, Ludwig Kaiser was doing single stuff and propelling himself up the way where he was in all these matches, and he got hurt in a Braun Breaker Sheamus match, and I really think that it was Braun Breaker who hurt him, but it was the Sheamus Ludwig Kaiser rivalry at the time, and that's why it has to continue slowly and slowly. And I'm just like, why haven't they brought Braun Breaker into it? Why haven't he been into it? Now they have brought him into it as a triple threat, and it's what it probably should have been a while back. Because you also got to think too that it was going to be Ludwig Kaiser, Sheamus, and I think it was Bronson Reed. Was that the triple threat match at the time or whatever? No. It was Bronson Reed, Ludwig Kaiser, Sheamus, I believe. But Bronson Reed wasn't in there. Braun Strowman got in there. I think that's what it was, or whatever. Maybe it was something like that. But either way, he's been. I was like, this has always been a thing. They just haven't. They just kept on. They'll do it for a week. 3 weeks go by. Do it for a week. And I was like, they finally put it all there. I'm over here thinking, I'm like, Bronson Reed either should get it, but I was like, this way it could be Ludwig Kaiser winning it without it being that whole he loses it to somebody who's an elder statesman and then he has to learn his way back. It don't have to be that, that rinse and repeat type of thing. But really, what I really wanted to say was the New Day whole thing. Now, on one hand, I did not like them losing the Alpha Academy so easily the way they did, because that just sort of looked like, yes, it's pathetic, and it's not, and I was like, no, they should have lost the Alpha Academy, but the way they did it, where it was the worm to Kofi, and then Xavier Woods is over there for the longest amount of time, and then Akira Tozawa does his bomb and win. Now, if Akira would have did it instantly or something like that, or Otis would have did the worm and that, I would have been like, oh, okay, that's fine. But the way he was just sitting over there the whole time until he did the worm over here, when all he did was just get a body splash at the turnbuckle. That's it. That I was like, but in the end, after they started out the way of being like, oh, we getting this 10-year anniversary. Look at this. Hey, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry too. You my friend. All this other stuff, and then for it to all just be like, oh, you only won because of me. You ain't never won. I was like, you know why you ain't never won like me and E? Because you too reckless. It's like, hey, without us, you wouldn't even have a heavyweight championship. At least I was a Hall of Famer before you even got here. It was like that's the type of stuff that is like, when you've been friends and you just been letting stuff slide because it's like, that's my friend, that's my homie, I understand where he's coming from, I got a different perspective, all this other stuff, that when it does blow up, when it is like, that's the part where like, this is one of those things where it's like, all this stuff has been building, everything you wanted to say, and for that time period, and it's good, and how bad it is that it's basically like, you are going to talk to him like he's not your friend, and that's when all hell sort of breaks loose. And that's what it sort of did. Don't tell me they're not. I mean, there is real to this whole story. That's like real truth here. But that's the difference of like, even though that person is your friend or whoever is like a really like tight family member or whatever, even if you are truthful, even if you are honest, you are never 100% with it. And not even saying like you don't keep it real and nothing like that, but you are going to say it different. You are going to have some insight to why they might have did that and why you can talk to them this way or whatever, to where you're just not going to come out there and crush them like it's some random person that you don't have no type of feelings of care for. And that's sort of how this one hits here, to where it's like stuff where it's like he wouldn't have called Xavier reckless. He would have been like, we got to tighten up your technique or something like that, or why are you doing this or whatever, or being like, oh, he wouldn't have said you've never been champion or nothing like that. He'd have been like, hey man, we got to figure out how to get you some championships. It's just a different way of talking and stuff like that. But I like how it's all approaching or whatever. It's going to be crazy how the 10-year go. They keep talking about E, but you don't. But I was like, but Xavier Woods doesn't really say nothing about E like that lately. I was like, because he was bringing them up first, where Kofi wasn't, now on a flip. And so you know that E's going, I was like, I feel like E's going to come back. It's just like what happens there. But anyway, that's Raw. That's recap, review, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, going into War Games. I guess with that said, I was like, I'm also really glad the War Raiders did not win. I think that unlike Motor Machine Guns, they still ain't got enough pump and juice there. Like this is the first time I heard the crowd start actually being like, war, and that they was actually doing it too, because they haven't done that either like they used to in NXT. So I'm glad that they didn't win. I was like, while I also want Judgment Day to lose their titles at the same time. But yeah, I was like War Raiders still need a little bit of something to get it going. But anyway, now this is the end of the Raw review. Yeah. Do all the things you gotta do. What do you think about the episode? Any other questions? What did you like? But anyway, till then, all day, every day, we got this. Peace. I'm out.